Okay, if your mindset is poor, you'll be unable to sustain a high level of consistent work and therefore self-sabotaging your way towards your goal. So what do I mean? There's this thing called the comfort zone trap, and this causes agencies to unconsciously maintain their current income level. So this means if you have a poor mindset, you have poor goals lead to poor decisions, poor actions, and end up you be stuck at 5, 10K per month. So the thing is, the goal of today's training is to be able to get you from being overwhelmed, self-doubting, and trapped basically in your business. Someone that's confident, someone that has a different identity that's ready to scale past 50 to 100K every single month. But a lot of people on the internet talk about, oh, why you need to have a better mindset, you need to think differently, you need to remove your limiting beliefs. But what actually is mindset? Mindset essentially is a set of beliefs, thoughts, and feelings. Essentially, your identity, the way you see yourself and the way you see your world. And why do you need to have a good mindset? Because without a strong mindset, you'll never be able to break out of the plateau. You end up constantly overthinking instead of taking action. You end up avoiding challenges. You end up giving up after setbacks. You end up blaming circumstances or people. You end up prioritizing comfort over growth. You end up constantly planning but never actually executing. And let me show you this example. You can see my screen here. You have the goals that you want to achieve, and you know the actions that you need to take in order to reach that goals. However, the current you looks like this. You take the actions and you're like coming back to yourself. You know, you're not actually going, changing, reaching your goals, but you're actually becoming, or rather staying the same, being the same you. So why is this the case? And how do you then build a strong mindset? Number one, in order to build a strong mindset, you need to first define your goal. Right? So what is your goal? A goal is a clear and specific dream outcome that will serve as a north star that pushes you to work towards. So an example of a poor goal is, for example, I want to be rich. I want to get a Rolex. I want to get a supercar. That's a poor goal. And why is this important? It's because most agency owners are stuck because they operate with dreams. Like I want to get $1 million, but they don't have any tangible goal. A dream is a wish that you hope for, but a goal is the destination that you build a roadmap, a direction towards. Without a clear goal, you are navigating without a compass. You don't exactly know where you're walking towards. You're banging your head against the wall most of the times. So a well-defined goal provides three critical things. Number one, clarity. Right? So you know this decision that you make is aligned to your goal. Hence, you take that decision. If it's not aligned to your goal, you don't take that decision. Second is confidence. You have confidence in your actions. So you know that if whatever action that you're putting in today, if let's say it does not yield an outcome, you know that you're working towards the goal versus you're taking action for the sake of taking action. Like, for example, if today I want to be growing my nail salon to 100K per month, I wouldn't be selling maybe like paintings on eBay because it's not directly linking me towards my goal. Right. So third is it will help me build consistency, right? Because without clarity, without confidence, without consistency in working on the same thing over and over again, despite the fact that you are banging your head against the wall, you're not seeing success, you will not be able to hit that goal if you don't have these three things. Okay. So how do you then create goals? First, you need to define the end outcome. So I like to use this SMART system, which stands for S specific, M measurable, A achievable or attainable, R relevant, and T time bound. Right. So you want to identify what you need, why you need to get there. Right. So as Frederick Nietzsche said, he who has a why can bear almost any how. So I want to keep asking yourself why until you reach the final conclusion or the core desire. So for example, if earlier you set the SMART goal, um, which is to achieve 50K per month in revenue in 6 months, because it's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, it's time bound. Now you need to then identify why you want to get there. Right. So for example, the goal was I want to hit 50K per month. Why? Because I want to do better and improve. Okay, why? Because I want to have my own place to stay and have freedom. Okay, why? Because I don't like not being in control and I want to change my environment. Okay, why? Because I want to feel secure that I'm good enough and valued for my worth because I always lack, I always been looked down upon. Right? So that's why. So your desire end day is to build a strong sense of self-worth. Simple enough. Okay. Example 2 is I want to make 50K per month in 6 months. Same goal. Why? Because I want to have financial freedom and security. Why? Because growing up, my family struggled financially and it caused a lot of stress and uncertainty. Why? Because it made me feel powerless and limited in my choice. I want to have control in my life and I want to be able to make my own decisions without financial constraints. Okay, why? Because I want to feel empowered and secure, knowing that I can support my loved ones and pursue what matters to me without external limitations. Okay, why? Because I want to have empowerment and control my life to avoid the stress and limitations that I've experienced in the past. That's your desire. Okay, so now that you have a goal, understanding your end outcome and understanding why you want to get to that goal, you want to now identify the steps you need to get to that goal. Okay, so for example, what inputs do you need to put in? Can you reverse engineer it? So for example, if let's say I want to get to 50K per month and I want to sell a $5,000 product. Okay, great. So to get to 50K per month, I need 10 customers. And if let's say I go on a sales call and I only close 30% of the people that I need on a sales call, I will need 33 customers, 33 calls, sorry. And in these 33 calls, let's say if only 70% of people that kind of book these calls show up, great. Now we need 48 book calls. Right? And really 48 book calls, if let's say I only have 30% opt-in rate, that is 160 leads. So I need to find 160 engaged people that are willing to talk to me about my product, my service, and come on a call with me every single month. If I don't hit the 160 leads, I will not be able to get to 50K per month. Okay, so that's how you reverse engineer it. So now once you have reverse engineered your goal, you now need to reverse engineer your identity. Okay, so what is an identity? An identity is the way we view and we see ourselves. It's who you believe you are and how you operate in the world. Okay, your identity essentially is the source, which is the environment and your experience from growing up, your beliefs, your thoughts, your actions. These form your identity. And why is this important? Because if you don't believe that you're capable of achieving your goals, you will not be able to achieve your goals. Simply put it, if Elon Musk don't think that he could one day get to Mars, he wouldn't be pursuing that every single day with his entire heart because he knows that he's able to do it one day, despite the fact that he might be wrong, he still pursue on to it. So that is an identity. Okay, so how do you create an identity? First step one, you need to envision your goal. But based on the goal that you set, how does that person act? Right? How do they think? How do they behave? Right? So, for example, let's say with the goal that we set earlier to hit 50K per month in 6 months, and identity can be anything is possible, but we are responsible for our end outcome. So, we want to focus on taking actions instead of overthinking. So, that is an identity. Okay. So after you create this identity, you want to purge all your limiting beliefs that are associated to your current identity. Because you cannot achieve what you want to achieve if you're stuck in your current identity. You have to now shift and see yourself as this future identity. That way, you can then start working towards that. So for example, like the Elon Musk example, he believed, he own self believed that he's able to get to Mars one day, with the dream that he has. Therefore, his identity is he's working towards that because he knows that it's done and it's able to be accomplished. It's just a matter of time. Okay. So now you want to be able to purge these limiting beliefs. Same, you want to use the why ladder to then purge these limiting beliefs that might hold you back. So, for example, some questions you can ask yourself is, what are the current thoughts of yourself? Right? What do I believe I can't achieve? And why? When did I first hear of this? How do I usually react when I face a challenge or failure? What thoughts come to mind when I try something new or when I step out of my comfort zone? What are the beliefs that I hold about success, about money, about relationships, about personal growth? What do I feel I'm not good enough at? When things don't go as planned, what do I tell myself? So you want to start understanding and uncovering the small little truths and the thought process that you have on yourself. Okay? After you do that, then you want to then challenge these beliefs. Right? Why do I find this to be true? When did I see this in myself? Can I find evidence to then disprove this negative belief? So for example, if let's say a negative belief you might have is you are not good at sales. Okay. Why are you not good at sales? Because is it because when you're younger, You try talking to people, people shut you down, people don't listen to you when you speak. Why do you find that to be true? Then can you start finding evidence to disprove this negative belief? Like for example, when I was younger, I taught a friend like math or science, for example, and he's able to now um, maybe improve his grades in his exams, and he actually thanked me for doing that. So that is challenging the false belief that you have. Okay, once you then challenge this belief, you need to start acting, right? Because just by thinking about it won't really help you much. You need to start acting like your new identity, with your new beliefs, your new thoughts, your new actions. Okay. Then after you start acting the certain way, you now want to then add more repetition to it. So you want to repeat that action, constantly repeat that action. So for example, let's say uh, the previous example that I gave on the fact that you think that you suck at sales, right? You can't talk to people. Okay, great. Now you need to start acting, right? Start talking to more people, start adding repetition to it. Start after you start talking to people, okay, now can you start talking to more people? Can you start doing more of that? Engage in more networking events, um, just go on more communities, talk to more people, interact with people. Okay, so an example of this is, let's say earlier we have our goal of 50K per month in 6 months. Our limiting belief might be follow-up is annoying and disturbing. So you think people might dislike me if I will constantly follow up. Okay, a new belief, however, can be follow-up is important because even though people might be busy, they will want to work with me because I'll be able to help them scale their business. So talking to me will be a better spend of time than doing whatever they're currently doing. Okay, now you need to start acting like that. So I'll follow up until they tell me to stop because I know that I'm able to help them. Last is repetition. So that's continuous follow up until it becomes a new habit. Okay, you're with me so far? Okay, great. So step 3 is you want to then create a long-term vision. What is a long-term vision? A long-term vision are dreams and aspirations, right? And these are like ambitions, your purpose, your values, your dreams. How do you then form a good vision? Step 1 is you need to first visualize your future. What is success to you? What would you say is most important to you in life? Right? Why are these the most important? You want to identify values, purpose, dreams that are important to you, and then kind of then reverse engineer that to how you can start acting every single day. What do you need to be known for? What do you need to do? What do you need to learn? So now you want to then consolidate this reflection into 2 phrases or clauses or sentences. Number 1, what is your desired outcome? Right, for your long-term vision, not your goal, your vision, like with, let's say, this agency. What do you want to do with this agency? What's the desired outcome of working in this agency for 10 years? What do you want this agency to achieve? The next is what kind of actions will get you there. So you want to then write a concise, inspirational statement that summarizes your vision. And this statement will go like this: to outcome by action. Earlier, I shared that we want you to go and collect 2 phrases or clauses, which is what's your desired outcome and what actions to get you there. Now, you want to then compile that. So your vision statement will look like this: to outcome by action. So for example, to be the #1 lead generation agency in the US by being the expert and achieving the most results in the agency. So very simple. You need to know the only way they will be able to get you to being a #1 lead generation agency in the US, you first need to be an expert. And second, you need to have the most results. Then you'll be #1, simply put. Okay? After you create a long-term vision, it's not enough. It's not enough. So you have your goal. So all we have discussed so far is we've decided on our goal. We've removed and improved our current identity. We have also created a long-term vision. Last is we want to now commit to it. Okay, the thing is, even if you have the strongest goal, the identity, the best vision, and all that, you will not be able to achieve your dreams if you miss this one thing: taking action. Right? And action is not designing a website, it's not thinking of a new business opportunity, it's not going from an agency to doing e-commerce to doing any other method. An agency works. There are tons of agency. I personally scale my agency myself to over 70K per month. It works. It still works today. Everything works. The only thing that doesn't work is you moving from one thing to another. Right? And action is a decision. What action essentially means is a decision to say no to everything else and only work on what's provided. to give you a measurable outcome that will get you closer to your goal. If it's not aligned to your goal that you said earlier, your vision, then don't do it. Don't decide because your friend said it's a better opportunity, you can make more of it. The grass is green on the other side. Okay. So how do you then know what is the right action? Right, simple is usually what it's the hardest, and you're trying to avoid the most. So the only way that you will be able to take action and go all in on something is if your reward is potentially a multi-million-dollar business exit or a company that provides you cash flow monthly without your involvement. So please make a commitment to yourself and your goals on why you're deciding to go all in. Right? Create an IG story, tag your family, your friends, your partner, tag me even, right, at Brendan Ang Beast, and show yourself and everyone that you have this commitment to go all in. Why is this important? Because you're proving to yourself that you're taking an uncomfortable step to potentially be judged by your friend and your family, but you're willing to commit to something for long term and not give up. But if let's say you don't do this commitment, it's fine. You can easily just move to the next thing. But if you commit yourself to this, at least for the next 1-2 years, by sharing on social media and stuff like that, people will see that you're changing a new thing now. And with that judgment of them thinking of you changing from one thing to another, you then stick to it. So to recap this video, very simple. You need first define a goal. How do you define a goal? You need to define the end outcome, why you need to get there, and the steps you need to get there. Next, you need to create an identity. How do you do that? You want to envision that goal. You want to purge all the limiting beliefs, act in a new and different way that will allow you to reach your goals. Then we add repetition to it. Keep on doing that action. And lastly, you want to create a long-term vision. A long-term vision is visualizing your future, consolidating it into 2 phrases, your outcome, your action. You're going to write a concise, inspirational statement. Right? 2, outcome by action. And lastly, you want to set a commitment to yourself, your friends, your family member. Send it to your group chat. Don't disturb me because I'll be working on this agency for the next 1 year. Okay, with that said, go take action, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.